Okay, hi everyone. Welcome back to the Chochom and Tam. We are about to start a new. Welcome, Vered. We're about to start a new idea, a new sort of focus on one of the ideas that we've spoken about already. So we're at the.
No, she would be the type, no, to give you a call.
Whoever is talking right now, you're coming through to everybody. I don't know who that is. 1 second. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so we spoke about this Indian before, that the Chochom came and met the Tam, and the Chochom moves into the house of the Tam. And we understood that this is referring to us. Thank you so much. That this is referring to us when we finally are able to get to a place where we are experiencing a little bit of tamimus, a little bit of simplicity in our lives. We're tasting the sweetness of what it means to leave behind overthinking, and what it means to leave behind constant looking towards other people, and what it means to leave behind never being happy with where I am and always wanting to be somewhere else. When I leave behind all these things and I finally get a taste of living with tamimus and emunah and simcha, then the Chochom comes back and these thoughts will come back to us and we'll begin to experience them again. And so that's what's happening in the story when the Chochom comes back to the Tam. And the Tam goes out and says, okay, I'm ready to deal with this. We don't run away from such thoughts. We say that we know that within those thoughts and within those difficulties, that's where I'm going to find a deeper level of Hashem. By the way, it happened in this past week's Parsha that it said by Moshe Rabbeinu that when by Har Sinai, that when Moshe Rabbeinu was on the mountain, and it says that the nation, all the Yidden, all the Jews, were standing at a distance, fell back at a distance. And it says, but Moshe nigash el ha'arafel, that Moshe Rabbeinu went into the darkness, and the Torah says, Kisham hu ha'elokim, because that's where God is. Moshe went into the darkness because that's where God is. That's what the actual pasuk says in the Torah, right? So a person with emunah, clear, just faith, and who knows that I don't run the world, I'm not the boss, Hashem runs the world, knows that when something comes to me, when the difficulties start coming back, what do I say? Okay, I'm going to find Hashem here. Hashem is throwing me something now that I need. I'm going to go into it, and I'm going to pull out all the aspects of tamimus, simplicity, and sweetness, and throw them into that place, and Hashem, that's how I'm going to get through it. That's how I'm going to pull out the sweetness from this place, right? That's what the Tam did. So the Tam sees that the Chochom is still suffering, so he invites him into his house. And the Chochom comes to live in the house of the Tam, and that's where we're holding right now. So in the introduction to this portion, Rav Kivak says like this: Bichlal, so there's an Indian that we have to be careful of, because sometimes we work on these things for a while, and we begin to give up. We begin to have yush. We begin to say, you know what? Am I ever going to make it? Am I ever going to be able to get rid of the way that I think? Am I ever going to be able to find some peace, some menuchas hanefesh? Am I ever going to be able to get rid of all these thoughts of overthinking and wondering, should I have done this? Should I have done this? Maybe if I do this, then this is going to happen, and always worrying what's going to be, what could be, what won't be, what was. Right? Am I ever going to get there? I might worry that I'm never going to get it. Right? So he says, so no, Rabbi Nachman says, no, don't worry about it. Rabbi Rabbeinu tells us how the Tam went into the wagon of the Chochom. Meaning, at the time when all those thoughts come back to us again, azai tekablu b'simcha. We have to accept them, receive them with simcha, with joy. I'm going to be able to use wisdom in a way of simcha. I'm going to be able to use, very often, tell me if I'm wrong, but you have a person who suffers from I shouldn't say a person, all of us who suffer in our own way from the pains of this type of chachma that we're calling nowadays, we call it either toxic consciousness, toxic thoughts, right? Or toxic wisdom, right? These types of thoughts that take us over. we realize sometimes it's people who are very bright, who are really thinking through each channel and like really, are going through every possibility, every possible outcome, and they're smart people, right? So am I going to be able to, God gave me a gift, I'm smart. Am I going to be able to use it? A person might ask, right? So he's saying over here, you're going to be able to use it. We have to be able to go, tikablu b'simcha, accept these thoughts with simcha and say, I'm going to be able to use this wisdom in a way of simcha. Because this is going to help a person to realize that, you know what? I cannot live without a little bit of simcha and chiyus, vitality. I can't sit back always worrying what's going to be, what could be, and think about all of these, everything that's happening in such a way. I have to say, okay, I have to inject simcha. I have to inject vitality, chiyus, liveliness, vitality into my life. And I have to say, you know what, I'm going to go forward with it. And you know what, I'm not going to worry so much about necessarily all the details. I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to do it with simcha, with happiness, and not with fear. Not worrying so much, was it perfect, was it not perfect, did everything go exactly the way it was supposed to go? Maybe not. But you know what, it's a new day today. And I'm going to move forward and not be dragged down by all of those thoughts. This is what he says. Why is it? I said, yeah. And through this, we're able to really actually accomplish something by bringing a little bit of light into that darkness. Because if we don't have, if we don't inject some simcha, emunah, so that means joy, some faith, and some vitality into our thought process, right? What's going to be? We're not going to have menuchas hanefesh. We're never going to feel peace. We're never going to feel okay. We're never going to feel a sense that everything's okay and a sense of peace in the world. It's just not going to happen. So here we are. We're in this place now in the story. We're dealing with the part in the story now where the Chochom is living inside the house of the Tam. So now the Chochom has to learn the ways of Tamimus from the Tam. He's living in his house. Right? Rabbeinu is telling us an important rule now. How many hours have we been learning about Tamimus and toxic thoughts for now? I think this is our 28th hour now, if I'm not mistaken. And so we have a taste, right? Maybe we've been able to put some of this into our lives, and maybe it's brought us in to be like, oh, now I'm getting a taste of menuchas hanefesh. I'm getting a little bit of peace, getting a little bit of happiness, right? So he says, you hear these words? Look out. Now, Rabbi Nachman is telling us, be careful. Even after you're in the house of Tamimus, you're living in this place now. It can happen now again that you're going to be surrounded by these thoughts and you're not going to be able to get out. You're going to be stuck with these types of toxic thoughts again. So we're moving on now to learn how to deal with these in these places. So the first thing we see over here, I see I wrote a note over here. Yeah. So the last thing we said, the Chochom, in the story, the Chochom was always filled with suffering. Because, like we said, the direct translation really is that he had made a name for himself in the world. That he was a tremendously wise person, and he was an artisan, and a doctor, a great doctor. So, and because of this, he was still suffering. So we understood this in a different way. We said that he decided that he's something. He gave himself a name, right? And we talked about this, that we all experienced this. He gave himself a name. He said, I'm fabulously intelligent. I'm a doctor. I'm an artisan, right? This is who I am. But by giving himself this designation, he can't let go of that. And if he can't let go of that, he's setting himself up for so many types of tsuris, right? When he's not when the world doesn't go exactly the way that he thinks it should go. Right? So we spoke about this inyan, that we have to have the ability to be able to let go of these definitions and labels that we place on ourselves, for the good or for the bad. We have to let go, we have to surrender these and say, I don't have to be defined by this label that I invented for myself. Right? We're going to speak about this a lot coming up. So let's hear his words and we'll see where it takes us. This is the main way that the Chochom remained in a state of suffering, that he kept these names, labels for himself. It wasn't suiting for himself to become a new person. He was not able to change. So what are we doing? If we leave ourselves with these labels and these names that we give ourselves, it means we're basically saying, I'm not accepting the fact that things could come out differently. I'm not accepting the fact that I have to change. I'm labeling myself a certain way to say, this is how I'm supposed to be, this is how I am, and I'm not changing. Right? It does not bode well for a person. Every Yid is always supposed to be moving. Right? We're always supposed to be growing. I can't grow if I put myself in a cage. And if I place these limits on myself by saying, this is who I am, right? You heard a few of these types of people that I mentioned before. Let's go a little bit farther and I'll bring a few examples. Okay, so like this. So what happens to us? We become habituated to be a certain way. We from a young age, we start doing things in a certain way, and we begin to say, this is how I am. This is who I am. And we're unwilling to break from those. This is what Rabbi Nachman is telling us over here. It got into his head somehow that he's a great wise person, he's a doctor, he's an artisan. And this makes him crazy. And he's not able to hear and to understand why his life is so bitter. Right? He's decided that this is who I am, and this is who I need to be. And he doesn't run the world. Hashem runs the world. Hashem's trying to tell him, this is not good for you. You need to change. And Hashem's giving him all sorts of opportunities and signs. But he's not able to do it. He can't let go of that. He's not, one of the things that I always say, you've all heard this before, that one of the aspects that it means to have emunah, right, is that we have to be open to what Hashem has in mind for me. I have to be open, right? And I have to be open to things being not the way I expect them to be. Maybe I have to be open to things happening in a way that I feel might even be beneath me. But remember, that's the hallmark difference. One of the hallmark differences between the Chochom and the Tam is that the Chochom refuses to do anything that he feels is beneath him. And the Tam just does what needs to be done. Whatever it is. Right? Does what needs to be done. So this is where the guy finds himself. I am so high, I'm a doctor, right? And he's going back into this small little town, being greeted by the town crazy person who wants to, and he goes to live in his house, and it's beneath him. How could he handle it? How could he take it? He's a doctor. He's a genius. He's a world-renowned artisan. It can't be. Right? So it makes him crazy. But he doesn't understand. So anyway, because of this, his life is mar mimavis. It's more bitter than death. He can't stand where he is. Right? Where if he just said, okay, I guess I'm going to live in this small town for a while, and I'm going to be with my old buddy, the simpleton, and let's see what happens. Right? You know how famous Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says we have to learn from Ezu HaChacham, who's the wise person, Halomed Mikol Adam, someone who learns from everybody. Right?
This is being flexible like a reed. It's also from Pirkei Avos.
Yeah, it sounds like it also. So maybe I'm going to learn something from this guy, the Tom, right? Maybe I'll learn something. Who knows? But he's rigid. He's like, I'm not. This is all beneath me. I'm not. He's making himself crazy. He's making himself crazy. So, like there's different ways that this happens in reality. It's a sad case. A couple of cases that I've dealt with personally with people, but a sad case is a person, and it's not easy. I don't like to say things and have people think that I'm coming down on people who struggle with these things, but it's a very good example of this. Sometimes you have people who are struggling to find a shidduch, and very often. It's nothing to do with what they're doing necessarily. Who knows what the reason is? It's not the right time. Like as we said, I know many people who couldn't find a shidduch couldn't find a marriage for like 10 years. And then only to find out that after 10 years when they finally got married, they got married to someone who was like 12 years younger than them. And that if they would have found that person 10 years earlier, they would have been in high school. And it wouldn't have worked out. They had to wait. Right? This was their beshert. This is their soulmate. And they had to wait those 10 years because the other person wasn't ready yet. Right? Sometimes it's just like that. Sometimes it's just the timing. But sometimes a person has to learn things, and the person has to figure things out for themselves. And a person has to shed some of their negative qualities, or at least begin to work with them, so that when they get married, they're not going to be a terrible spouse. Sometimes. We're not prophets. We don't know always why things happen, right? But very often, just something that I've seen happen on numerous occasions, is a person comes to get married and has a very long list of absolute requirements that the person who is so fortunate to be able to marry me must check off all of the boxes in this list that I've come up with, right? Thank you for the tea, Alona. So what happens? A couple of years go by, and the person says, okay, I'll knock a few things off the list. Okay, fine. Right? And then a couple more years go by, and they're angry and upset, and why their life is mar mimavis. They're super bitter. It's a terrible time. It's very difficult. A bunch of other things have been knocked off the list. Until it comes, 10 years later, and they're like, I don't know what to do. I've tried so hard. I don't know what's going to be. I'm just, I have nothing to say. I don't know what to do anymore. I hope Hashem just sends me some, whatever. They're open enough now, after this 10 years of struggling, that they've said it doesn't have to be exactly perfect to my specifications, what I think is right. Why? Because I don't know what's right for me. I think things are right for me because I'm a bal gaiva and I have an ego and I have all these problems with myself, and so I think that this is what I should have. And Hashem's like, what are you talking about? That's not what you need. That's going to be the worst thing for you. Let me show you a few people who might help you out and who might put you along the right path, right? So this can be part of what could happen. Why? Because a person is not willing to let go of the label and the name that they've made for themselves. I'm a person who needs to have such and such of a wife or such and such of a husband. And if I have anything less than that, I'll be too embarrassed. I'll feel, it'll be beneath me to marry someone like that. Right? Only to find out later on that if they had been willing to let go of some of those ideals that they placed on themselves, things might have gone differently. It can happen also. I know a couple of people who have been in such a situation where they once had a business where they made a lot of money. Right? Multi-million-dollar businesses, they're making a ton of money. They pay themselves a salary of, a few $100,000 a year. Things are going nicely. Right? And then, as happens sometimes in business, the whole thing crashes in a matter of days. The whole business is gone, house is gone, car is gone, everything's gone, they got nothing left, right? Terrible, terrible situation to be in, right? And of course, we're not saying everyone's like this, we're just, it's just an example. And so, this person, and there's room in halacha for this also, by the way, that the person feels now, I need to right now find another job. But it has to. I'm used to making $300,000 a year, and my kids are used to this, and my wife is used to this, and this is what. So I have to. That's what I have to do. So they go around looking to people in the community. They're like, "Oh, can you help me? I need a job." Someone's like, "Okay, I can help you, but I can give you a job, but I got a job that can pay you $100,000 a year." What? That's it? I can't even begin to live on $100,000 a year, says the person. And then they go out, and they're once again marmimavis. They're like, I can't believe that no one will help me. Where's the community? I used to give tzedakah to people. Now, why can't anyone give me a job paying me $300,000 a year now? People I've heard this in my own ears, right? And so then things get worse and worse, and time goes by and by and by and by. And all of a sudden, now he's getting job offers that are like 80, 70. They're going down and down. It's getting worse and worse and worse. Until finally something happens after it. Sometimes it takes years and something breaks. And the person's like, okay, listen, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to be simple. We're moving into a smaller place. I'm just gonna start doing something. I just need to have something, a job that I do regularly. It's going to bring in a regular parnasa and get me back on a schedule, get me back on so-and-so to a normal life. And soon you see a person living a modest, simple, but sweet, good life. Right? But for years they're bitter. Bitter. Because why? Because I am a person who makes X amount of money. And I cannot even begin to think about taking a job that's going to pay me less than that. These are all very, very difficult things, by the way. I promise you, I'm not coming down on people. We all have to learn our lessons somehow in these realms, right? But this is what it's like. This is what we're talking about over here. We give ourselves labels and expectations, and so long as we're not willing to let go of them, we're stuck, and we're going to be bitter. So it's tough. Oy vavoy. And every person, by the way, we can apply this to many, many different aspects. I think we're going to see he's going to give a little bit of a list later on. Doesn't have to be money, doesn't have to be a job, right? It could be, for example, the way I expect my children to behave. And the way that I expect, that I see what's going to be my legacy through my children. Are they coming out exactly the way that I want, so that I can say to people, oh, Look at my son, my daughters, right? Look at them. I'm so proud. I'll take out the pictures. I'll say, he's going to this school. They're going to this school. They're doing so well. This award, right? And if they're not doing that, I'm like letting them have it, and I'm pushing them and grinding them and making them fulfill my own ego. It's like abusing your children to build up your own ego, right? Of course, once again, it's not so simple. We have to give good guidance, and we have to try and guide them in the right way, and we have to give them the right amount of nudging and pushing to get them to who they should be, right? But when I'm doing it just to build up my own ego, so that I'm not embarrassed, I have something to show everybody, it's not good, right? Why? Because a person like me has to have children of a certain status. I am a guy who has very high children, because of course they came from me. How could they not be, right? This is terrible. This is. I've made a label. I've made a name. I've made an expectation, and so long as it's not hitting that, my life is mar mimavis, more bitter than death. Now you can apply this to any aspect of existence, right? We can make up more, but I'm running out of memories. So. Okay, so a little farther on. Let's see what he says over here. Rashis, who Inyan Hashem. So this aspect of the name that we're talking about over here. Shekol echad mefarsem al atzma eze shem. Everybody publicizes about themselves a certain name. Im shem shel Talmid Chacham or shel Oved Hashem. Right? Oh, I'm a Talmid Chacham. I'm a scholar. Right? Everybody knows that, and I make sure everybody knows that. Right? And And then afterwards, now the person's going to be suffering. He's going to have pain. Why? Now, right, when somebody comes up to me and asks me a question, how do you understand this Tosfos in Maseches Baba Kama? Over here in this Machlokes over there, right? I don't know. I don't remember. That's what you're thinking in your head, but you can't say that because you've already publicized to the whole world that you're a Talmid Chacham. You're a wise scholar. So you have to fake it and be like, maybe but you can't fake it because this person's really learning it and he knows, and all of a sudden you get found out. And they see that you're not really holding in the level that you've publicized the whole world that you're at, right? Also, you started to learn some Torah and you're teaching your Torah over? I can't believe it. Nobody is listening to the Torah that I'm teaching. What? How? I know I'm so smart and I'm so good and nobody's listening to me. Why aren't they coming? He says, "Hare ikar halimud Torah." Beautiful. This is such an important statement when it comes to Torah over here. We all want to be like this, right? We all want to be that when we feel like we have something to say over, we want people to hear it, and we want people to acknowledge it, that I have something to share, right? And it makes me feel good if I have something to share and people want to listen. So we all have our, we have that at the end of this year. I say, anyone have anything to say? And people like to say what they have to say, and it's wonderful. I'm not begrudging anybody that. I'm sitting here, right, doing the same thing. And you're at a Shabbos table and interesting stuff comes up and people are saying Divrei Torah, and maybe you want to respond and share. Yeah, you want to share. You want to give over your stuff. We all have this feeling that we want to share stuff that we have. Why? I know we all want to say that it's Lishma because I want to share for the benefit of everyone else, that they should hear my brilliant words. And right, and I'm sure, right. But really, when we say over good Torah and we say it well and people appreciate it, it makes us feel good. Correct? Yeah. It does. Yeah. So that's at least a very large percentage of the reason why we give over Torah. Okay, you agree with me? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Good. So he says, "Hare." However, we got it wrong a little bit. Hare ikar halimud Torah hu la'asos nachas ruach l'shechina kadosha. The main purpose of learning Torah is to give nachas to the holy divine presence, to give nachas to Hashem. It's not to give nachas to us; it's to give nachas to Hashem. Not that it should. First of all, two things. Not, first of all, that it should make me feel good. And secondly, not that I should say over something and then I don't remember and then I look like I forgot and like I don't know what I'm talking about. It's not supposed to make me feel good about myself. It's not supposed to make me feel bad about myself. I'm supposed to be doing it for the Ribono Shel Olam, for Hashem, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? So and we all give ourselves this name. I'm a religious Jew, or I'm a spiritual person, and I like to be able to tell over what I have to tell over, and I like the way it makes me feel. I like the way people think about me afterwards, right? This is a name that we've given to ourselves. But when things don't go exactly right, and maybe someone disagrees with me, and they show me how I got it wrong, right? And then I'm slammed down to the ground. It's Yisurin. It's suffering. It's pain. Why? Because I was doing it in order to lift myself up. And now when I fall down, it feels terrible. Why? Because I gave the impression. I labeled myself as the wise person who has something to say. And now when I don't live up to that, it's pain and suffering. Mashen Gain. If I would just say, you know what? I'm learning this beautiful Torah. And I'm going to give it over the best way they understand. Let's see where it goes. As opposed to making myself feel good, I'm getting into it. I'm sharing it, right? It's a whole different existence. Then we can make mistakes, maybe make jokes about them, and then and then everything's good. V'daika kan kishrabenu mesaper she'achacham gar etz latam kan mesaper es tzarisav. It's dafka now in this place where Rabbi Nachman's telling us that the chacham came to live with the tam, that he's going to tell us over now all the tsar that the chacham has. Kinisgala kan she'adam yistakal toiv al atzmai karoi be'ein emes. Because now it's being revealed now that a person can look out for goodness on himself in the right way, in the truthful way. Right? Now that he's in such a place, he's able to look like he's having a wake-up call, right? You know, you can have someone who's been very successful in many places. Maybe they got a lot of money. Maybe they got fancy cars. Who knows what they have? Maybe they have wife, children, husband, children, whatever it is. Things are going really well, and it's great, you know. But they're from the outside, it looks good, right? They got all the right brand names, let's say, but they're miserable. They're miserable, and maybe they find themselves going to visit, you know, someone that they see, and this person has nothing. And they're very lowly. But maybe he sees, in that little interaction, I remember a story I heard a long time ago about a wealthy person who went to visit, can't remember who the rabbi was, one of the great old rabbanim of Yerushalayim. And he came, and he went in to the Rebbe's room, was brought in to have an audience with the Rebbe. And there was a knock on the door while this wealthy guy is sitting with the Rebbe, right? Wealthy guy, benefactor. And the Rebbe, he sees the guy, the shamash at the door, and the shamash comes in and he whispers something to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe says, 1 minute, and like stops the meeting with this wealthy benefactor, and some like, you know, poor looking guy with kind of tattered clothing comes in, and the Rebbe speaks to him for a while. And very close, and he comes back, and the Rebbe sits down again, and he says, I apologize that I had to interrupt our meeting, but this was someone extremely, extremely important that I had to speak to. So the guy's like, how does the meeting, whatever, he says he's going to give money to the Mossad, whatever it is. And but he asked, at the end, he asked the Rebbe, he says, Rebbe, just please tell me, you know, who was this person who was so important that you decided you felt you had to stop our meeting, pause our meeting. You know, he didn't look so important. He was just that kind of tattered clothing. He didn't look so important. And the Rebbe said, you don't really want to know. It's not, don't worry about it. He said, I really want, it's bugging this guy, right? That the Rebbe stopped the meeting with the wealthy guy. So the Rebbe says, okay, I'll tell you. You want to see who this guy is, go to this certain place at around 7 o'clock and look in this window and you'll see. So the guy goes, finds this street corner, you know, in the middle of one of those old broken down Yerushalmi neighborhoods, and he looks down in the window, and the window is like into a basement kind of apartment. And he looks and he sees that it's like a one-room house, and there's a family in there with like 7 to 10 kids, whatever it is. And they're all living in one room, and he sees his family sitting there, and they're at the dinner table, and the father is this guy who came into the meeting, and so he sees, you know, they eat their food, and they're like mama sharing scraps. They don't have much food at all, and so you know, the father, one of the youngest kid finishes, he comes and sits on the father's lap. And he sees that the father is like so sweet and has such a precious relationship with each one of these kids. This young little child, he learns little aleph beis with him, and the child falls asleep. The father takes him and puts him on one of the beds that's just in the corner of the room. And then, you know, it goes on and on, that as the kids get older, they stay up a little bit later and they learn with the father. The Torah gets more complicated, more high level as the night goes on, and they all just get put to sleep in their little corner of the room. He just sees this like very, very sweet, you know, heartsick, wonderful family with nothing. Like, he was wearing tattered clothes because that's all he had. they're sharing scraps of food at the table, right? And he just sees something so precious and so sweet that he's like blown away. So he goes back to the Rebbe afterwards and he says to the Rebbe, I saw this and it touched me very deeply. I want to give money to this family. They should get a bigger house. They should have more rooms and they should have food. Like I can support them. And he's like they won't take it. Don't even try. And he's like, what are you talking about? They won't take it. They need it. He was like, you could try. You can go see. And so the guy went to see this person again. And he found him, and he said to him, I just see you're a very special family, very special person. I want to help you. I want to give you money because, I want to support you. And the guy's like, what are you talking about, me? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't need anything. So I have everything I need. I don't know I'm fine. This is what he said. And the guy could not believe it. This is the guy who interrupts the meeting of the wealthy person. That the Rebbe puts so much importance on this person, right? On him, his beautiful midas, right? So this is what happens over here. This is why when the Chochom comes into the house of the Tam, it's an opportunity. He gets to see something, and he's like, wait a second. I see that this friend of mine who's simple. I know he's simple, and I know he's lowly and doesn't have all the stuff that I think is important, but he's so happy. Why is he so happy? How can he be so happy? What can I do? And he has an opportunity. His deficiencies get revealed. And he's able to see there's something here that I want. Right? So that's why now at this point in the story, we're beginning to see this aspect of the Chochom. Fantastic. Let's go a little weiter here. Let's see what he says. Vashas inyan Hashem. So this, we're going more into this idea of the name, the label, the expectation that we put on ourselves. The person calls himself wise and successful. It's very, very dangerous to give oneself these labels. Because it's very easy to actually start to believe your own craziness, that you really are Mr. Wise Guy. From this itself, you'll find yourself suffering. The more that a person really begins to gain wisdom, knowledge and wisdom, if it's real wisdom, the real proper kind of wisdom, he's going to realize the more that he learns, he's as far away from true wisdom as west is from east. Right? This is what he's going to see. So a person begins to develop a little bit of wisdom, and they start to put themselves out there as a true master of wisdom, right? It's because they didn't really get the wisdom yet. If they really had the wisdom, they would be terrified to put themselves out there as a wise person, because they would realize, wow, I have so much more to go before I'm going to be such a wise person. Right? So this is why it's so dangerous. When people begin to refer to a person as a Chochom, as a wise person, it's going to kill him. What does that mean? Because Ikar HaTachlis Chochma Elokis, the main purpose of all wisdom is what we're calling Chochma Elokis, godly wisdom. This is the wisdom of the tzaddikim that they reveal into the world, not the other kind of wisdom. This is the problem. The Chocham has given himself the name Chocham. He's not a Chocham of true wisdom, of godly wisdom. Right? He's a Chocham because he studied a little bit here and studied a little bit there. Right? He's not a real Chocham. But he's got this name Chocham. Right? So, this is one of those things, by the way, in my opinion, that it's a sink or swim kind of thing. Right? So, there's people talk about sometimes Rabbi Nachman says very clearly in the Kutei Moharan that it's very bad for a person to learn Torah for the purpose of being called rabbi. You should never learn Torah for that purpose. That's not what the Torah is for. Right? And it happens to be in our day and age, like, you can join many different organizations, some of them just online, and you can get what's called a certain type of smicha, which people like to call a rabbinic ordination, right? I know people who have done such a thing, and they can't read a word of Hebrew. And they've done it, and all of a sudden they have on their title, Rabbi, Rav, blah, 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 so and so and so, and like, they really did not, right? But it doesn't matter. It's not such a big deal. Why? Happens to be also, in the old school way of doing it, the story about the Chafetz Chaim, when he got rabbinic ordination in his life, the Chafetz Chaim. So he was, as the story goes, I'm kind of paraphrasing it a little bit, but he wasn't really known at all. He learned a lot, he studied a lot, and he had a store a shop, a chanut, that he would open. Famously about the Chafetz Chaim, he would open his store in the morning, and when he had made enough money for that day, he closed the store. And it wasn't like 9 to midnight open. It was like he opened in the morning, and he sold enough stuff for that day, he closed the store, and then he'd be open again the next morning. You knew if you needed to buy something from the Chafetz Chaim store, you had to go early, or you never know what's going to be. But so it happened to be that people started to understand that he was something special, and he was invited to go and see these rabbis who were the Gedolei Dor at the time. I'm sorry, I can't remember the names right now. I should really know. Yeah, okay, I don't remember. Anyway, so he goes, and they don't know who they're going to meet over here. But they heard that he wrote this book called Shmiras HaLashon, right? The laws of guarding your speech. The famous story, the Chafetz Chaim, of this book, the famous book he wrote, Chafetz Chaim, Shmiras HaLashon, Avas Chesed, a few he wrote. But of course, everybody knows the famous thing with the Chafetz Chaim is he wrote books on Lashon Hara, on how to speak Lashon Hara, how not to speak Lashon Hara. So he goes in front of them, and they begin to test him, and very quickly they realize they start testing him on the subject of this book, and it starts to go to various different subjects and various things, and very quickly they realized that he knew far more than they knew, and they right there and then said they gave him rabbinic ordination, and he kind of took over as the Gadol Hador and the tzaddik of the generation, right? But he was hidden the whole time. Like he was humble, hidden person, and they didn't know. Used to be in the yeshiva world that you'd learn in yeshiva and you'd stay for years and years and years and years and years, and then maybe after 10, 15 years in yeshiva in Kollel, the Rosh Yeshiva would say, "Okay, the place over here needs a rabbi. It's time for you to leave. Go." And he didn't need to be tested. Why? Because the Rosh Yeshiva picked a very good student, someone who had learned for a long, long, long time, very, very, very in depth, and he knew his good character, so he sent him, right? So that's the way it used to be, and it doesn't really matter in either of those situations, nowadays or then, what the circumstances were leading up to it. If you put a person in such a position, people are going to find out very quickly whether he's going to sink or he's going to swim. Right? Are you a person of wisdom, true wisdom, right? Seichel Elokis, what did he say over here? Chochma Elokis, godly wisdom, or are you a fraud? Is it going to happen or is it not going to happen? Is it going to work or is it not going to work? Does he have a good character? Does he not? Is he a tam or not? Right? It's going to be where people are going to see it very, very quickly. So over here we're saying there's such a wisdom, Chochma Elokis, real godly wisdom, the people that we expect to be such a person, right? And then there's the Chochma of the Chacham, where it's false, it's just for ego, and it's surface level ego type of window dressing wisdom. Even though he was smart and he was a doctor and he was all these things, right? But that's not what we're looking for. That's not what's important. That's where he found himself. Everybody with me? Okay, good. Where are we holding here? Okay, we've got a few more minutes. She'ikar Yisurav, hu inyan, kazeh she'im haya b'shpa. Okay, a new idea over here. So what happened over here is he was asked to make, a noble person came and asked him to make this ring, right? Did we say this over yet? This part of the story today? We didn't say it yet. The story goes like this. A certain noble person came, commanded him, so he asked him to make him a gold ring. So he made him a wondrous, beautiful gold ring. He made these incredible, beautiful pictures on the ring. And he engraved this beautiful tree into the ring. It was wondrous, beautiful workmanship. Ubahasar, the noble person came. He didn't like it. He didn't like it. And this mamish broke the Chochom's heart. Right? He had tremendous suffering from this, that the guy didn't like his ring. Because he knew that if this was in the marketplace in Spain, where the real artisans are, it would be a bestseller. It would mamish go for a very high price, right? So what's going on over here? What is going on over here? Let's see. Why does he not like it here? How could it be that this guy in this place doesn't like it? This is going to be a really awesome idea over here, guys. His main mistake is that he doesn't realize that Hashem runs the world in a tremendously wondrous way. That in every place, the importance and the, what's another word for chashiv? It's like something is very valued. The way things are valued in different places are different, right? It's really dependent in the place you are. Certain things have value and importance and honor in certain places. Then you go to a different place and it's not like that. Right, listen to this. Even today, this is a funny mashal. You could have pictures of some famous Hasidic Rebbe, let's say, right? And in some, there'll be pictures of him in stores, and you'll have thousands of Hasidim that flock to him, right? But if he goes down the street and steps into the Ashkenazi Yekish Shul, right? They don't know who he is. And nobody's going to stand up for him. Nobody cares. Who is this guy? Right? Nobody cares. Just down the street, in the Chassidish place, people are like dying to spend 5 minutes with this person. But down the street, nobody knows. Nobody cares. Right? This is from the wonders of Hashem. Hashem guides everything with the finger of God. Right? Shefa. This is Kabbalistic talk over here. So there was a tree on the ring, right? The tree represents the Eitz HaChaim, which is all the Kabbalistic spheres. That's the way that Hashem manages the world, right? So on the ring is pointing out this very thing. That really all the chashivas, where things are important, where things have value, is all determined and run by Hashem. Every place in the world is different, right? That's what's taka on the ring itself that He made. It's an Indian of emunah, shemamin Hashem levade manigakol, that believing that Hashem runs everything. Miu mechubad, umi loy, who's honored and who's not. Which place in the world will something be desired, and in which place not? B'Spanya matim ilan kazeh. In Spain, this tree on this thing is gevaldik. Mokem acher mechabdin mashu acher. But in another place, they honor something different. They don't care. So what's the Indian over here? What's this telling us? Let's read a little bit more. V'hu Indian hatabas shekol mitziusay ma'isa b'nei adam shelokach adam chaticha zahav v'shayfoy v'kair. So what's the Indian of this ring? Person takes a ring, takes a piece of gold, and he carves it, and he makes it into something, and he turns it into something beautiful. But you have to know that whatever we do, it's all dependent on Hashem. That Hashem makes it, that this thing that I'm making now is going to be beautiful and desired and is going to sell for a lot of money. It's not me who does it. It's Hashem who does it. And how do I see that? I could make the same exact thing with the same exact level of craftsmanship. But if I try to sell it over there, no one is going to care. One little bit. No one's going to care. Right? Funny example. So you guys know I'm a bass player, right? Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
So this is a shtickle place where I have a bit of a taiva. I have a little bit of too much desire in this place, but there's like certain vintage basses, like from say the 60s that they made that are like very, very special, unique, and they have a very specific sound. They're very unusual, very hard to find, very expensive, like minimum probably $4,000 or $5,000 up to 20, even more, and they're something very special. So every once in a while you see such a thing for sale, and I'm like, wow, would I love to get my hands on this bass? But it's from the 60s, so it's beat up, it's worn, and it doesn't look like anything special. If you took this one and went into a mall somewhere and said, oh look, I have this one for sale, and then I have this brand new shiny, freshly painted brand new one over here, right? People would be like, what do you want that one for? Look at this one. This is something, right? But they don't understand the specialness of this one in my eyes, right? What are we talking about over here? We're both looking at the same two things. To me, this one is like top of the top. And to the other person, it's like, what do you want this beat up old piece of garbage for? I'll take that one.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Really, right? Meaning what? I can make something, it doesn't matter what I make. Right? We have this saying in Hebrew, in Yiddish, and what is it in Hebrew? Al tam v'reach ein lehitvakeach. Right? When it comes to taste and smell, meaning senses, you can't argue. Because why? Because people have different tastes. Right? How did Hashem make it so that in all different parts of the world, things are valuable over here and they're not valuable over here? People care about certain things over here and they don't care about them at all over here. Right? And just people have different tastes. Why? What's the message? What's the message of this? The message is that we have to just do our part to do what we can do. And we don't have to think like the Chochom that what I do, no one gets it because it's way better than, because I'm on a much higher level than everybody else. They just don't get the greatness of me and my art, right? You got the whole thing wrong. Just do right now. If people around you want a certain thing, that's the way you're going to make your business, so do it, right? If you have a art that you want to do, so do your art, but don't be upset if they don't like it, because Hashem decides how things are going to go. We do our part, and Hashem does it. What do we always say in the realm of Emunah? That we have to do our part, right? But the outcome is not up to us. The outcome is not up to us. We work hard, and we do our part. And we have Emunah, and we dive into Hashem. But Hashem is going to give us what we're supposed to have at the end. Right? And if we don't work in this way, we're going to become totally crazy, bitter, sad people. Right? This is the message of this. Hashem decides what is going to be loved, what is going to be valuable. We just do our part. That's it. But the Chochom thinks, no, I know better than everybody. This thing that I'm making, I know no one here wants it. But I'm telling you, this is what in Spain is really valuable. And nobody cares. And he is just standing in his ivory tower, miserable, because all of these peasants don't really understand his greatness. Oy vavoy. This is toxic thought at its height. It's the worst, right? That's where he's at. Hu levadei asa chen be'ilan kazeh. Only Hashem can make something desirous to people, like this tree that he made. Kedei shehiru bazeh asachein ve'isparush shel klal Yisrael. K'moshe kasav b'Torah Yud Zayin shekol hisparush ba'olam hu me'isparush Hashem yisparach me'isparach b'chol. Everything that Hashem makes different things valuable and different things desirous in different places to show the different aspects of value and beauty in the world. Right? Every single Jew does something different. Every single Jew has a different, unique soul that can speak in a certain way, that can do in a certain way, that can reveal things in a certain way, that can make art in a certain way. Right? Why? Because that Jew has a certain way of revealing the splendor and amazingness of Hashem in the world, and Hashem wants to be revealed in what's called Klalos HaGavonim, all of the splendorous supernal colors. Hashem wants to be revealed in the world in many, many different ways. That's why He made us all. And everybody has something to give and something to reveal, right? But we have to realize that we're revealing for Hashem. And we're just doing our part to reveal Hashem in the world. Not like the Chochom is doing. Right. So, what does the Tam do? The Tam knows that Hashem, with his finger, runs everything. And he doesn't care if he does something that another person doesn't like. Everybody has certain types of Torah and nigunim songs that they like, but that other people don't. And I don't care. It's okay if someone doesn't like what I have to say. Right? So we all know that there's a lot here. I guess we have to stop pretty soon here. But there's a lot of this aspect over here of like low self-esteem issues. Right? You know, we hear about this inyan that people there's this aspect called a certain type of personality behavior that's called we spoke about last time, being a people pleaser. Right? What? Yeah, codependent also we say. I can't take it if someone doesn't like me. I can't take it if someone thinks that the things that I do are not good. I can't take it. So therefore I adjust and I change and I mask things and I do things differently in order so that I pretend to be someone else in front of certain people so that they will accept me. Because for me to be accepted is the most important thing. Right? Doesn't matter if I'm not being true to myself or my values. I need to feel the acceptance of other people around me. Right? I need for people to like the things that I make, the things that I do. Right? Whereas someone who has tamimus and emunah says, you know what? Hashem gave me a certain way of doing things. And my jewelry, when I make it, it comes out a little bit different. This is how I make it. Some people love it. And some people don't. Okay? It's the way it's going to be. I shouldn't be bothered by the fact that that person doesn't like it. Hashem made it that everyone has different tastes and everyone has different likes. It's all right. Why should it bother me? I'm just doing what Hashem gave me, the way Hashem made me. I'm trying to reveal my aspect of the revelation of Hashem in the world. Not everybody likes my wine, right? It's okay. I have different types of wine. Some people like it, some people don't. Okay. I'm making my wine from the place that I'm in, and then that's it. I hope you like it. If you don't, okay. There's other kinds of wine. We all have different tastes. Right? But this is the main thing. The shoemaker, we see also, what does he say? When he makes his shoes, and his wife said, you like your shoes so much, then why does everyone else sell their shoes for 3 times the amount? He says, okay, that's what they do. I know this shoe cost me this much money. I make it like this, and I sell it, and I make a profit. I don't care what they do. It doesn't matter what they're doing. I'm honestly and with emunah and simplicity doing what I have the ability to do. A couple other quick lines before I move on. I have a couple other double underlines over here. There's another aspect over here. Everybody knows, we hear this concept many times, the concept of Yerida Letzorech Aliyah, or Yerida Tzricha Aliyah, right? So this is taking this into a slight abstract here, but I want to say it. So what does it mean? It means that we go into a descent, but that descent is for the purpose of having a greater ascent. We face a challenge, a difficulty, a struggle, right? But really we know from Chassidus that struggle is really meant, that period of lowliness is only meant to be a place where I can be propelled even closer to Hashem than I was before, right? So this is another aspect of this, because you know what? It doesn't feel good, and it doesn't look like it's the right thing. In my all-knowing mind, I should not be. Why do I have to be so sad? Why does it have to be so hard for me right now? Right? I don't like it. It's not going the way it should. So I'm davening to Hashem, or maybe more often, I'm telling Hashem why He's wrong. Right? You got it all wrong, Hashem. I'm not supposed to be here. Right? That's not, right? This is the same idea over here. If I would say, okay, you know what? I know this. I've been learning this Torah for a long time now, the Torah of Rabbi Nachman. The Torah of Chabad also speaks about this a lot, right? I know it's supposed to be, it's going to be always like this. There's going to be ups and downs. And those downs are just as important as the ups. There's something there for me. There's something special there for me. There's a light that I can get to in that place that I can't get in the ups. So when I get to one of those downs, one of those yeridas, I say, it's the same thing. Someone else is experiencing an aliyah, or I've been in an aliyah before. Okay, it doesn't matter. Right now I'm here. Right now I'm here, and I'm supposed to be here. This is where Hashem wants me. What am I supposed to attach to over here? How can I be in this place with tamimus, with simplicity, with emunah and simcha, and thereby be able to access the spark of holiness that is found in this place? Right? It's all Hashem. It's not me. It's the same idea, a little bit more abstract. Right? Two last points here, guys. I'm keeping us a little bit longer. I apologize, but let's just finish up. So, when a person has something that is not desired by other people, a person has to know, I have to speak more simply to these people. Let's say I'm a big Talmid Chacham and I have great deep Torah to give over, but I'm giving it over and everyone is falling asleep. Nobody likes it and nobody's coming back, right? So I have to know, okay, this thing that I thought is where it's really at is not right for this place. It's not where it's supposed to be. Even though I can't give over the depth that I really, really wanted and all of the ins and outs to my incredible understanding, okay, it's not the right time, but we're going to build little steps, and eventually we're going to get to a place where it's going to be able to be revealed in the right way, and it's going to happen in the right way in the right time. And I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to force it now. This is how the finger of God guided things over here. In this place right now, there's a different type of chen, a different type of desire. And whatever I see in my mind as a yarida, it's only for the purpose of an aliyah. Right? And here, listen to this beautiful line. So where I am over here, this is again one of the hallmarks of the Chochom. One of his biggest downfalls is that he feels that he can't do things that are beneath him. So if the Chochom is like Einstein when it comes to Torah, and he wants to give something over, but he's got to give over only the way that he understands it, in the depth of the depth of the depth, but no one else gets it. He can't bring himself down. He can't lower himself down to give it over in that way. So nobody gets it, nobody likes him, and nobody comes back. Because he's not speaking to anybody, right? Mashenken, if he would say, okay, Hashem didn't put in front of me a group of super geniuses, right? So therefore, I'm gonna speak to the people that Hashem put in front of me, and we're gonna talk, and we're gonna get things across. By the way, I hope nobody thinks that this is the way I'm thinking right now. I'm giving over the way that it excites me. I'm not calling myself the super genius here. I hope you understand that. I'm giving it over the way it excites me, and I think we can connect over here with this. But listen to this. We're just about done here. V'sibas hadavar b'zeh atzvay, ma Hashem Yisbarach manhig she'iyeh ba'olam kam minei sugei hispa'aruyos ba'olam. The reason and the way that Hashem made many different ways to which His glory and splendor are revealed in the world. Kol zeh hu kadei sheha'adam yireh gadlus Hashem she'Yisbarach mekambel nachas v'hisparos mibnei Yisrael v'kam v'kam ofanim. He did this specifically so that everyone should see the greatness of Hashem, and that Hashem is revealed in many, many different beautiful ways in many different people. Ad ein shiur v'soif, till we an innumerable different beautiful ways. Shebezen is galeh hatoiv shebechol makom. In this way, He reveals the goodness that's in every single place. Hu nekudas tamimus shebechol makom. The sweetness, the simplicity, the beauty in every individual place. Right? This is the last paragraph. Most, okay, I'm translating directly over here. Most of the suffering that a person has is from this, that we are pained in this, that we do not find favor in people's eyes. That people don't like us, people don't appreciate us. Right? And when we can learn from the Tam, we can be saved from this suffering. This is all hinted to by this aspect of the ring. The emuna is something that surrounds like a circle. The ring is hinting to emuna. The big mistake of the Chochom, he doesn't live with the emuna that Hashem does everything. V'Rabbeinu HaKadosh mesapar kol zois shenizorer le'emuna shekol nesias chen ba'olam hakol misnaheg me'itoy yisbarach. All of the nesias chen, all of the honor, the beauty, the things that people appreciate in the world, things that people desire in the world, is all directed by Hashem. It all comes from Hashem. So when we're out here and we're saying this inyan, that all the suffering of a person comes because people don't appreciate us, people don't accept us, people don't like us, right? It's very, very often because we just don't accept ourselves, who we are. And that we I'm a unique person, and I know that not everybody gets me. Yeah. Not everybody likes me. Not everybody likes the same Torah that I like. Not everybody likes the same music that I like. I don't fit with everybody. And you know what? It's totally okay. You know why? Because Hashem didn't make the world like that. Remember, we said this many times. Hashem made it that in the Yam Suf, in the sea, when the sea split, there were 12 different paths. You know why? For the 12 different tribes. You know why? Because not all Jews are supposed to be the same. And there were 12 different nusachos of tefillah, 12 different versions of prayer that the 12 different tribes had. You know why? Because not every Jew is supposed to pray the same as the next one. And there were 12/13 gates leading into the Beis HaMikdash that different Jews went through. You know why? Because not every Jew enters into such holiness in the same way. Right? And you know why? Because Hashem says, you're going to see an aspect of beauty and splendor of me being revealed into the world through each one of those different Jews. And it's important that if we don't stick to being ourselves, and we don't try to reveal a channel of truth through ourselves into the world, then we're ruining the whole thing. Because Hashem said, I have a special job for you, for each Jew. I have a special job for you, and only your soul can do it. Only you can reveal what I want you to reveal in the world. And if we look to other people and we say, oh, I want to be like that person. So I start changing myself to talk like that person, to dress like that person, to think like that person, right? To be seen in public only like that person. I'm acting like another person. And by doing that, I'm not actually doing what Hashem put me here for. I'm not revealing the beauty that Hashem wanted me to. So I'm missing my whole purpose in the world. This is what Hashem wants from us. One last beautiful thing. Anybody who has to go, by the way, it's an hour and 10 minutes already. But this is just one last really, really important point over here. Anyone who has to go, please don't be embarrassed or don't think that I'll be hurt if you have to leave. But I had an experience. Ramata Frank was with us this past Shabbos, and I took him to a certain place for a Shalom Zachar, late at night, Friday night, and we didn't get home till 2 a.m. And it was very geschmack though, but anyway, so we went to a certain place. And there was one certain bacher there, a young Jewish guy and studying in yeshiva, and he was another guy, and they were both from one certain group of Jewish observance. I'll leave out the name because whatever. But so Ramata started speaking, and he's the sweetest, most wonderful, joyous, accepting, beautiful person, right? Started speaking, and this one guy was listening to him, and the other guy starts going, "What are you listening to him for? He's gonna infect your mind. We already have our way. We already have our Rebbe. You don't need to listen. What are you doing? Don't listen to him." Right? Out loud. He might have been drunk. I don't know what's going on. But interestingly, by a half hour later, so I said to this person aside, I said, "You have to know something about this. First of all, he's the sweetest person. And also, I guarantee you, he knows all of the books from your group better than you will ever know them." And Rav Mata started giving over Torah, some from his group, some from the other group, mixing it together. And half an hour later, this young bacher is sitting right beside him, like focusing on every word that he's saying. Right? Some people out there say, I don't, you guys are wrong. You guys got it wrong. You need to join my group. Because my group of Hasidim, my group of yeshiva Torah learning, my whatever, is the right way. And if you're not doing it my way, you're missing out completely. Right? So this is the opposite of what the story is teaching us over here. The story is teaching us over here that there are different pathways. There's different ways that the beauty of the Ribono Shel Olam, of Torah, of deep wisdom is brought into the world. And as long as it's brought through an authentic path, it's going to bring something special into the world. And you know what? Some people won't like it, and they'll have a different pleasure, a different way that they like it, better than your way for them. And we don't care. It's okay, right? The Tam says, "Oh, you have a way that you see Hashem, that you relate to Hashem through this other kind of Torah. Fantastic. I'll keep doing mine over here. Maybe you'll teach me some of yours. Maybe I'll like it. And if not, that's okay. It's okay." Right? Let's just be ourselves. Let's be strong. Let's all try to reveal Hashem in the best way we can. So this is the lesson at the end of this over here today, is that we all have to do our best to develop an authentic view of ourselves, and to accept ourselves, and to know who we really are, and through that to be able to channel the Ribono Shel Olam, to channel Hashem, His wisdom, His beauty through the talents that He gave me. Whatever I can do in the world, I have to shine a specific light that I can shine, and it doesn't have to be like everyone else, and that's great. I should appreciate the other lights and make sure I'm doing mine in my own way and not try to be like someone else. I think that's one of the main lessons over here. That's one of the main aspects of Tamimus, right? And in simple terms, it means don't be jealous of other people. Don't try to be like other people just for ego and looks. Be yourself. That's the simple ending over here. Any questions or comments, please?